Got it.
And so, and I'm just gonna go on Facebook.
Mhm.
So we are recording and we will be right there. We are going live on Facebook right now. So this is good. It's a good day. It's a very good day. So let me get rid of that. And I think we're probably on Facebook. So if we can check that, that would be great. So I'm just going to do this quickly. Okay, let's see. And everything disappears on me. I really got to get this figured out. It's just like there's too little hours in the day. I'll just tell you that. And the thing is, the Lord is saying that time is an illusion at this point.
Mhm.
So, I mean, what is time anymore, right? So I hope we're on Facebook. I'm gonna check with my phone because this computer works a little differently than my phone does. I am excited. I am so excited. I don't know. I'm just so excited. I am really excited. How about you, Mark?
I was going to share with you earlier. I know you're busy on Sunday. I don't want to blow up your phone, but um, I went for a walk and I'm excited, but I'm also sad. I'm excited for what's coming, but I'm sad for what's coming,
Oh, yeah.
you
Well,
know?
let me just say this. The Lord,
Ah!
the Lord, the Lord is happy.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe some of the things that I will say today will help calm some of our nerves about this, but it might also stimulate more fear.
Well, I'm calm about it. You know,
I know
what
it's
he was impressing upon me today, what he said actually was, um, this is coming to an end. All that you know is coming to an end.
and
And
I
then I
say
was reminded,
hallelujah.
yeah, I want new heaven, new creation. Creation is going to be brand new. Everything's going to be brand new. And I was
Yes.
reminded of the governments. Everything is going to be brand new. Everything. The way
Something.
we think, speak, live, walk, talk, the way we live,
Yeah.
the everything. And he reminded me of that vision I saw the last buckle and I saw a hand of the old world, the old as we know it,
Yeah.
is like he's gonna unbuckle it like any second. His hand's right there. He already unbuckled one. The other one's right there, and it's happening.
Yeah.
Everything that you once lived in is no longer.
Yeah. And, you know, this is something that I was going to say later. But, you know, when I'll say Yahushua, because I'm still going to talk about his new name, Alpha, in a minute.
Mhm.
So when he walked the earth, and they were always saying to him, is this the time when you're going to manifest the kingdom in the earth? Right?
Mhm.
And he would just like change the subject. He would say something, and he was basically saying what he was here for at that time. Okay.
Yeah.
He was trying to say, even to his disciples, the Son of Man, and I'll talk about this again later, but the Son of Man came to suffer, to die, and to be raised again. And after they ask, are you here to manifest your kingdom at this time? When are you going to rule? See, they knew what some of us in the church don't have a clue about.
Some.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the Israelites understood from reading the Old Testament, which was their scripture, that the king was coming. He was going to set up his kingdom. Well, what he did is he set it up so that anyone who believed on him as the spotless lamb would not die, but could have everlasting life through his death, burial, and resurrection. That's what he came to do. And that was what he was focused to do. But they're like, okay, when's the kingdom going to be established? But it's going to be established now. This is the time. This is the time that they wanted way back when he walked the earth. Everything has order.
Oh, yeah.
Has purpose. And we are in the day. We are in the day of the kingdom. We are in the day of the kingdom. The kingdom where God dwells there. He is the light. He is the light. There's no need for the sun. There's no need. So this is hard to grasp with our minds, but this is
with the natural mind, yes.
This is a realm. This is a place. This is all new. This, and I'm going to get into more details. I don't like to jump ahead of myself because then I have to go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. But everything, what he's doing now, coming very soon. I'm not going to put a date on it. You can't do that. Whenever I've wanted to put a date on it, he would say,
there's no time, remember?
Yeah. But then he would say, okay, now that you did this, let's do this, And so I'm like, okay, we were already. But step number one was going to lead me to the kingdom, but no, that was the first step. I just didn't know how many steps there were. But once I saw the steps and I saw the order, it all made sense because he is perfect. And so welcome to the table today, everybody. Welcome to the table. We're finishing our conversations that we have. And today is May 14th. And I just want to say Happy Mother's Day to.
Well, thank you.
I know it was hard for you. But anyhow, I just want to say Happy Mother's Day because it is Mother's Day. I'm not a Hallmark person. I'm not, but I do love it when we can recognize each other and we can speak from the heart, right? And, I always thought, every time I went to a funeral and I would hear people say, oh, he was such a good guy, he did this and he did this and he did this. And oh my goodness, what a change in life. And I'm thinking to myself, if you really felt that, I hope you told him during his lifetime, because I doubt he hears you right now. So this is what the kingdom is all about. You're like, what is the kingdom about? Because we're not going to have any suffering. We're not going to have any sorrow. We're not going to have any flesh. We're not going to have Satan. We're not going to have any evil. Oh my goodness. What do we do with ourselves?
We spend time with him.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I can't wait. Our hearts pound like, I don't know how to describe it, but again, he keeps taking me back to the cross, and he shows me through family, because he is family. He's family. He loves family,
He does.
and he is my father.
Yes, he
And
is.
he often shows me. He showed me about the cross. I mean, I will talk about that again, because everything he did, even the numbers, that the number of days, the number of hours, even when he was conceived, was done perfectly. But he prepared the way for me, his son,
Yes.
to come into his kingdom, to
Did.
be a part of his kingdom. He paid the price. He did everything, not just for me, but for all who believe.
Mhm.
And I talk to him all the time, and then he'll show me. He's like, well, how do you, it's kind of, how would you treat your son? And it's like, Lord, you know my heart. I love they're your children, but I love them. I would do anything in the world. And he said, it's if I could just paraphrase Dad, he would say, well, I've already done all this for you. I paid the price for you to enjoy peace, to enjoy prosperity, to enjoy the kingdom with me. I paid the price for you, because you were set before me. That you were the joy that was
Yes.
set before me.
Yes.
So I care more about him.
Mhm.
And I told him, I was thinking about this the other day because he reminded me, but I go for our walks all the time with him. And I told him, like, Lord, whatever you want to do, I will be tired, but it's like, Father, what do you want to do? Go for a walk. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the new place or the old place, or it doesn't matter? And he always, it's we are coming into something that's going to blow our minds. I still can't. I still try to grasp it, but the glory is worth the sacrifice. No matter what you're going through, the glory is worth the sacrifice. Turn it over, let go, refute it all. If I could say this one more thing, and then you can have
Okay.
it. I shared this with you, but I want to share this again because it was a couple nights ago. I went. I love going fishing, and I love going by myself with Dad. And I was hanging out with him on the shore of Lake Champlain, and he said, "The world is condemned; no longer live in it." And when he said that to me, something happened inside of me. It's like it hit me profoundly. No longer live in it. What does that mean? It means no longer. You can recognize the thoughts.
Mhm.
When you hang out with him, you know the thoughts of the world, you know the thoughts of the enemy.
Mhm.
You don't live in the world anymore. Don't live in the way of the world anymore. Don't eat, sleep, drink, walk, talk the way of the world anymore,
Mhm.
because it's condemned.
Yeah.
And you're not of the world,
See, that's
but of my kingdom. Yeah.
that that we may just kind of bring back at another time,
Mhm.
based on what I can get done today. And I'm hoping I could get it all done. I want to kind of go through it quickly, but we have to understand why the world is condemned. We have to, because in our minds, see, in our understanding, if we look at the scripture, it says, God didn't come to condemn the world, but to save it. So
Mhm.
when you hear something like what you heard, it's more than just that one scripture. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to try to explain what the more is. Okay. Because as we said before, he needed to come and die, suffer, die, be buried, and then raised again to life. That was the purpose. So that was key. That was the key. That was the thing that could connect, that could connect all of the world back to himself. That's what he wanted. But we are living in a day and age where the world hasn't. They had their opportunity. And we're at a time right now, and I'm like talking about everything in my notes. So we're at a time where he has waited. We've talked about this before. He's waited. He's, that people say wink, he winks. He's like, okay. People think, oh, the Lord has always let me do this, so he likes it. Well, what he's been waiting for is for us to come to him and say, Lord, search my heart. Is there any evil in me? Is there anything in me that's not of you? And then he would come to you as a son or a daughter, and he would say, and you might use different words, but he would say, this one little thing, just keep following me. I'll take care. And he says, that's not a big deal. That one thing is not a big deal. I can get rid of that like that. Just keep paying attention to me. Keep focusing.
Yeah.
Keep having relationship, because that's what does it. When you understand who I am and you see me very clearly, you find out who you are. And in finding out who you are, those little things just drop off, because he is the truth. He is the way, and he is the life. So in having this communion with him, the fleshy things that we hate can't stand in his presence for very long, and then we learn this isn't the way my Father thinks. These aren't the ways of my Father. I am his son or daughter, and I want to manifest him in every area of my life. And then you learn that he ruled very gently in your life without you even feeling it. And then you learn that you can do the same. And
Yeah, he wants us to.
see, that's
Right.
exactly.
If I could just say this to the other day, he said it's time for you to rule and reign.
Yep. That's it.
So I say, yes, Father.
Yeah.
Teach
And
me your ways.
yeah. And we're learning. See, this is part 4. There's probably a whole bunch of extra parts that we're going to do, but just ruling and reigning sometimes doesn't look like I bind you, but that's part of it, because we are to have dominion over everything. And that means the enemy too,
Even our emotions. He
Yeah.
set the perfect example because, and I always think about this, like, Father, when you walked here, you kept your mouth shut even when you were being taken to the cross. You did not hurl insults at them when they spat at you. You kept your mouth shut
Mhm.
and you bore it all. But when you walked from village to village, you carried yourself in such a way
Yeah.
that nothing but you were always at peace.
Yeah.
And he's our example.
And Lord, we know that you're with us. And I just want to say, the Lord is wisdom, right? He told us
Mhm.
that. He said, I've given you ancient wisdom, right? So he said,
Wisdom of the age. Yeah.
use it. So
Use it.
wisdom sometimes keeps the mouth shut.
Yeah.
There have been people, in my life that hurled things at me, and I just kept my mouth shut. And I knew that that's what I was supposed to do. But sometimes there is a time when he says, speak it now.
Mhm.
You do. Because we are obedient to him, you know, it's okay. You know, he could have said, he could have thought, Lord, you could have thought, you know, this person has, you know, these Pharisees and these Sadducees, they think they know more than me, and I'm the king, you know, I'm the Lord of glory. And he did explain to them, you know, you don't know God because you don't recognize me, you know, because
Mhm.
I just came from his presence not very long ago. And I am here now. He's the one that sent me here. And you are saying that I'm demon possessed. That's what you're saying about me. And I am the Son of God.
Mhm.
So, you know, this is the same thing we're dealing with in the world right now, in the so-called churches of Jesus Christ, which he is going to cleanse, because just because something has a name on it, it doesn't mean that it speaks truth. Because I'll tell you this, and this is in my notes somewhere, so I'm having a real problem today, because the enemy came
Come
in
on.
with good and evil. And I'm going to talk about this because we need to understand.
Mhm.
We need to understand this. I'm really wrecking everything, but he came in and said, so he went to Eve. Okay. Now, Eve, we know that a real spiritual man is the head of the family. You know, if there isn't a spiritual man that has God as a covering, then that's not so. Okay, because flesh rules or God rules. So if a man is under the authority of the Lord, then the woman, his wife, should submit. I'm just saying this. I'm a woman. Hey, you know what? It's coming from a woman's mouth. There's not a lot of men out there. I'm just telling you, there aren't a lot of men out there that are godly men,
Mhm.
that love the Lord more than they love their self. And therefore, they can love you as yourself. There's not a lot of men out there that can do that. So it's hard to totally submit when sometimes you're submitting to flesh, and you can't submit to flesh in your own self. How can you submit to flesh when they're the head of the family? So I'm saying a lot of stuff. So the enemy knew that Eve should go talk to her husband, like, honey, this is what he's saying. He's saying I should eat from this fruit. You know, should I? But she didn't. And then Adam on top of it, he's the head, and he didn't go, Eve, hello, Eve, let's talk about this before you do that, all right? You know, please, if somebody comes and tries to speak to you something that could be contrary to what God says, why don't you talk to me about it? Let's get together. But the thing is, she didn't recognize that it was contrary to what God says, because she didn't recognize it, because the enemy is subtle. The enemy
Mhm.
is cunning. The enemy is a deceiver. The enemy is a liar. So he knew how to come in to her little mind. I'm sorry I said little, because she wasn't little. I'm just saying our minds, he knows how to do that through the flesh. He comes into us through the flesh. So this,
Mhm.
before the fall, they were absolutely 100% like God. He made them in his image. They were God men and woman. Okay. They were perfect in his sight. Everything was perfect. The enemy said, I want to be like God. So I am going to get in there somehow and get them to eat from that tree that will take them down to death. It'll
She
take them.
didn't she didn't obey though, because he told them, do not eat of this tree.
Yeah, she didn't obey. She didn't obey, but what I'm trying to say is
Mhm.
she went for the lie. Okay. The lie was very appealing. So she probably didn't even go back and go, oh God, I mean, sometimes when something fleshy comes in front of a fleshy person, which she wasn't fleshy, she was like God. She should have said, there's a lot of shouldas there, but she listened to the lie. And this is where the whole world is right now. Okay. Even people that call themselves Christian. Because last week we talked about false humility, false
Mhm.
repentance, and thinking that you can claim the promises of God when you live in the flesh. And you feel that because it's written there, I can claim it. So this is in the church. And he's saying that's burning in the fire. Okay, that's going. So she made mistakes.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. She shouldn't have done that. But he came in a way, she's looking at the fruit, she's listening to his voice, she's going, no one ever came in that way before. It's like there's no enemies here. All of a sudden there's an enemy that she doesn't even recognize as an enemy. And that's another problem. We don't recognize that the enemy has infiltrated our flesh. And that is, yes, the memory of Adam, but it's the old nature. It is, the Lord is saying, it is the dwelling place of Satan. And he said, I hate it. I hate it. That's what the problem is. Satan came in, convinced her, they ate, then Adam ate too. Okay, so he
Yeah.
also did not obey. So let's just get it right there. And then they ate, and right away they fell. They fell to a whole different realm. Oh, and we know that. But see, then the enemy says, I want to be like God. And so now, because they disobeyed God, they worshiped me. Okay, that's my
Mhm.
first. See God? See what they did? Now, every person that comes into this earth through their birth, except for that one seed that will crush the head of Satan, that one person that is going to be born and then born another time after they're born again, because Alpha came to earth to do that, and he did. What he did on the cross was victory, total victory. Now we take it, receive it, and apply it. And the problem is sometimes we just took it and received it and just thought, hey, I'm done, because of wrong teaching or whatever
Yeah.
else. But what I'm trying to say is what Satan did is he changed their whole way of thinking, good and evil. This
Mhm.
is key, because good can be a liar. Good, what the enemy does is he gets in there and he says, oh, this is good. Okay, so good is a behavior change. So good is like, you just love them as they are. Just don't worry about God is unconditional love. He just loves everybody. So those Christians are the bad ones. They're the ones that are saying, this is what God said, this is right, this is wrong. He changes not. But Satan comes in and he says to everyone with his good, oh, it's okay. Oh, come on in. Act
We
like,
don't care about your
yeah,
lifestyle. We don't care
that's
what you believe.
You,
We
because
still love you.
God is good. But see, God's good is not Satan's good. Okay. God's good is in life, in the tree of life. Satan's good is in death.
Yeah.
It's a lie. And it's bombarding us every day to the point where people are so deceived. They don't know what good is, and they don't
Nope.
know what evil is, because there's so much mixture. And there's not, and people sometimes they go to church and they don't hear a message of truth. And truth is a force. Truth is powerful. Truth will shake your world. How many, you know what? I'll just say this, and boy, am I really in a mess. So what ended up happening at one time in my life, I was at a legalistic church, right? And
Mhm.
I hated it because I knew that when I went to church, I would feel that the Lord didn't love me at the end. I would feel like he was angry at me. I would feel
Yeah.
like he was mad at me. I'd feel like I couldn't do enough for him to make him satisfied with me. And I knew when I left, I would feel worse than when I got there, because I fed myself life all week. But then the death came
Mhm.
because it wasn't truth. So, but when I was in that process of life, death, I found that my ground, I was shaky. Like, I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't want to believe a lie, Lord. Okay. I don't want to believe a lie.
Mhm.
But he kept encouraging me to listen to life. And I found that that was truth. And then he started speaking to me and telling me, what you're hearing is truth, more truth than what that is. But I'm still modifying that. Do you know what I mean? I'm still bringing more truth into that. And he's bringing more truth today. So when that happened, when I started hearing truth, my legs were shaky. It was like, oh my goodness, it's like, oh, truth is hitting me. I love truth. I love it. But I don't even know how to express this anymore. I don't even know. I don't even, I'm like, I love it. It's like eating from the tree of life, but I haven't quite wrapped a hold of it yet, because the lie is being ripped from me. And as the lie is ripped from you, because truth has taken its place, you become wobbly to a place where you can fall, depending if your house is built on sand, how it's built, right?
Mhm.
If it's built with gold, silver, you've got a good house. If it's built with hay, stubble, you got some problems. And then if it's
Yep.
built on sand, you have even more problems. So this storm that's coming, this shaking that's coming, is all of the things. I mean, Alpha, Yahushua, he spoke these things out of his mouth over and over and over again. And even to this day, I mean, just now, things are even starting to open up, because I realize that those things that he spoke about was, yes, for that day, but for this day that
Mhm.
we're living in. So I just wanted to say, see, Satan is about behavior modification.
Mhm.
But behavior modification isn't truth. Behavior modification cannot change you.
No.
Just be nice. Well, I can tell you, when you are in the Lord, you become kind, because that's a fruit of the Spirit. When you are connected to the vine, the fruit can't help but grow. In Satan's world, it's modification, and it's a lie. It's built on a lie. There's always a lie there, and that's what the Lord is shaking today.
Let me interject for a moment here. You're right. You're 100% right. You know, you talked about greasy grace a while ago, and he said grace upon grace. He's told us that, told me that personally. But then as he was raising me and training me and just change, he does all the work. So as he was doing all of the stuff that I can't explain, I got to a point where just as Paul said, when I was a child, I acted like a child. That's the age of grace, the time of grace. I spoke like a child. But I was being brought up, and I became a man. I put up childish ways. I got a confirmation on this a couple days ago. I'm like, that's it. Because you have brought me through all of this, Lord, to get me on my feet, that you have done this. All I have done is said, yes, Lord. I'll follow you. I don't care. I am yours. But if I could put it in the way that is easy to understand, the age of grace, which was confirmed, is over.
And I was going to say that today too.
Yeah. And I just flipped it on. He speaks to me in many different, he speaks to me a lot. And if you have ears to hear, you will hear him no matter what. And I just happened to listen. I'm like, wow, you heard every word. You heard every thought.
Oh, he did.
And yeah.
And
it's like that time period where I was growing up, learning how to walk. See, I was learning. But that period of learning how to walk is over. Now I walk.
Yeah. But see,
because there's a standard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There is a standard, and he's raising that standard, and you know that.
Yeah.
And so, but see, during grace, it's not that it's greasy, but during the time of grace, you have more time, if you will, to learn and to grow and to be with him and have relationship and to give your heart and let him work on you. And he will complete that work until the day of Jesus Christ. But when grace is over, the ruler in him comes forth.
Yeah.
And he says, you've had time. You didn't do anything with it, or you did. He judges our hearts. He judges where we are. He knows everything about us. So if you yielded to him, and I know you did, and you give your heart, and he works on it, see, that's the perfect way. That's his way. He teaches you his way. But see, the problem is the enemy came in and stole a lot of things that belong to the Lord. He took man from his image. That was the first thing. And we know that through Alpha, through Yahushua, we are able to know who we are. We learn who we are. We become who we are. We be who we are. But
go ahead.
Hold on. Okay. So with that said, grace is ending. So when it ends, because we're coming into the kingdom age, okay? It's no longer the church age. The church had its opportunity to rule and reign.
Mhm.
Now the king is coming forward, and the king is going to rule, and it's going to be done quickly, but it's not going to be really friendly because the job is going to get done. And so what I'm saying is,
A
the way he's,
lion's not friendly.
no, but he's love. And the reason why he's doing
Yeah.
this is he's getting his own's their attention. So again, I'm out of, there's
Don't worry about it.
I will worry about it because I don't want to repeat myself a million times. But the thing is, there are people that have given themselves. So they've he's either worked on them to the point where they are no longer living in the flesh. So he just teaches you, that's not me, but he does it, and through grace, he does it in a beautiful way. It's just,
Mhm.
it's perfect. And it doesn't, it can hurt, but then you realize it's because my feelings are hurt, or something like that. And if my feelings are hurt, that's the flesh. So you
Mhm.
learn that, and I've talked about that before, we have to recognize what is the flesh and what isn't the flesh. And that's what I was really going to talk about today. But through all of that, and I lost my train of thought, but through all of that, we're in the kingdom age. The kingdom is here. The kingdom is going to allow
Mhm.
us to go through some things because that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
We demanded things. And he says, okay, it's time. And I can tell
How
you,
can we demand? I don't, it's you. I always approach him like, Lord, if according to your word, let it be done. Or Lord, if I could ask you anything, purify my heart where it's just you. When I hear people say, well, I told God this, it's going to be my way or else, like, okay, by your words.
yeah, but see, that person is very fleshy. So
Yeah.
what I was trying to say is there's a people that have offered themselves as a sacrifice, and he loves that. Then
Mhm.
there are people that have only given a portion. And so if you've only given a portion, he's after all of you. And he said, love not your life. If you love your life, you'll lose it. And what he was talking about, if you love your old nature, if you love your flesh, if you love who you were more than me, because he wasn't really trying to get rid of you because he just wants you to realize you're in Christ now. He wants to get rid of the old. He wants to get rid of the
Mhm.
sin. He wants to get rid of the evil. He wants to get rid of the wicked. But the thing is, you're not that person. I'm not that person. He knows that. So he's been speaking all along to the Christ within us. But today, in judgment, he's speaking to the deaf and the wicked, and he's saying, you're going to leave. This is how I do it. I did it this way during the church age. During the kingdom age, it's going to be a whole different ballgame. So if you are a person like that person you explained, I commanded him, I told him, that person does not know God at all, or else they would never do that. I'm just
Mhm.
telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. I heard that from him. Can you imagine someone,
No, I
someone
can't.
telling the King of Glory, someone telling the maker of heaven and earth what to do? We talked about this before. That is Satan right there. This is the scary part, because there's Satan's seed and there's Christ's seed. And there are many of Satan's children on this earth.
In the church.
Yeah, it's a false church for the
Yeah.
most part. So what I'm trying to say is, to that person, you were walking on dangerous territory, because let me tell you, you love your life. And he said, if you love your life, you're going to lose it. So that tells me when the fire comes, because he is a consuming fire, and we've been through the consuming fire, we know what that fire feels like, and we know how it feels at the very beginning when you have no idea what's going on. And that person is going to suffer great loss.
Yeah.
That person has not built that spiritual house. He builds the house, yes, but we build it by applying truth, by following him. That person has built with hay, wood, stubble. That person is going to lose everything, and they are going to have a real problem with him, because they're not going to understand why they lost. And the truth, when truth comes in, it's going to rip, it's going to snatch, it's going to take. And he said, when truth comes in, it's like a thief. It just takes the garbage out. And this is what he's going to do. This is what his manifested sons and daughters will be doing, because he has some people who love him, who have given their life to him. They have relationship with him. He can trust them. They are his lights. They are the lights of the world that he is not going to hide. And as a matter of fact, he's very excited about the fact that it's time to release them into the earth. He's excited because he wants to show the sons and the daughters off. He wants to show you off. He wants to show his children off. They are the true children of Israel. This is not about a country. Get over it. Yes, the Lord loves them, but when people reject him, they're not his true children. We're talking about his true children that love him.
He said two becoming one, the natural Israel, it's a spiritual thing. And that's what gripes me. It's like, you guys haven't read his word.
Yeah.
Read his word. What does he say? Paul talked about it.
And that, see what you just said, that is that when he brings in his sword of truth in this day, where people will be open to hear. Either they're going to be open to hear, or they are just going to turn away completely. And we know that there will be people who do that, right? We just talked about.
I think Paul said there's neither Jew nor Gentile, the two becoming one new man.
That's right. But the thing is, this is about relationship.
Yeah.
So we are one as long as we're his. We sometimes have to check ourselves to find out if we're really his. But I can tell you one thing, that sort of conversation that speaks about only Israel being his, and we're like a second or an afterthought, or, just kind of like, oh, we're just adopted. That's not what that means at all. It's a placement.
Mm-hmm.
Adoption is a placement as a son. There's a time you learn, and you're a child, you mentioned it before, you grow up in him. He personally taught you, I just know this for a fact, he personally taught you, he's been teaching you, he teaches you all the time. He's teaching you his ways, his thoughts, his mind. He is showing you things. And so with all of that said, you are his child. So when you come with your sword in a day where people, your sword, the word of truth, right? His word, truth,
Mhm.
and you speak it out of your mouth, it's going to come forth like fire. And it is going to penetrate. And it is going to knock that person to the ground because they can no longer believe the lie. This is a day of truth. We have to be lovers of the truth.
Yeah.
And we need to personally go to him and check if we believed lies. I do this all the time. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to believe a lie. I don't want to believe a lie. And he loves that because we're checking ourselves, but he's also come back to me and said, you're believing the truth. You hate lies.
Mhm.
And because you hate lies, you hate Satan and you hate lies. And because you do, I feed you the truth and I tell you the truth. And I want you to stand on it. I want you to embrace it. I want you to live it because it's yours and it's who you are. But that comes with going to him in relationship because he is the truth. I love
Yeah.
him. I love him. And I want to live in truth. And that's it. We have to embrace that. We have to be willing to go to him. This is what this is all about. There's a whole bunch of people that haven't gone to him. There's a whole bunch of people that haven't cared. They have been more saturated in the world than they have in him. And he is a loving God, but he's also a jealous God.
Hmm.
And he wants his children. And
And he
this,
will
when he,
protect you.
yeah, but when he takes everything away or allows all of these crutches, remember that, when he,
Mhm.
or things such as money, looking to someone else as a source, um, you know, there are people that worship their spouse or they worship something really silly. There's so many silly things out there. I mean, just
Mhm.
think about it. If we even go and we look at in the Old Testament, there was always a few. Okay, Satan came in, he fooled everyone through Adam and Eve, but there was always a remnant. There was always a few that would believe him, that loved him enough to follow him. It was Cain and Abel. So Abel, right? We know that if we look at Abraham, we know that Abraham loved him. We know that Abraham was a man of faith. We know that Abraham believed God and he was a friend of God. But how many, other than Isaac, how many of his family members felt the same way? So Abraham was one that believed God and loved God. We know, but
Isaac was a promised son to Abraham.
that's right. That's right.
So
Yeah. But because Abraham saw it, Abraham
yeah.
saw it. Abraham could see past
Yeah.
today and he could look into the future. And Abraham realized that there was a sacrifice. And Abraham knew about the son. He understood those things. He was a friend of God. God spoke these things into him. And then Abraham turned what he heard into faith.
Yeah.
And then he knew, okay, he knew that I am, our father needed a son, a first fruit, a firstborn to become that sacrifice. So he's like, come on, Isaac.
There's a lot you could learn from that whole, I don't want to call it a story, but the historical account.
Yeah.
I mean, he was looking for a city whose builder and maker was God.
Right.
and I don't like using that word, but and I also, what I love, we talked about this before, was uh, he told Yahushua told him to take the bull, the goats, the doves, make a sacrifice unto me. And he did all of that. He did as the Lord commanded him. He obeyed. But he guarded the sacrifice from the vultures. That speaks to me when God, our Father, tells us something. We listen, we hear, we obey. Then the flesh will try to come in and eat the sacrifice. But Abraham was protective of the sacrifice, kept the enemy's voice, told him to shut up. I hear the voice of my Father, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's with that, I told you before, but I'm just going to say it on this broadcast because there was a time, and when it was, because the enemy was lying to me and trying to make me feel like I was less than what the Lord was saying. And and you even had a vision about the snake, and you had the whip and all of those things. Well, that was a hard time for me because I was learning. I was still not grabbing a hold of what was apprehending me at that time. And so with that said, he told me, and I understand it more today than I ever understood it before, as he said, be ready to punish any act of disobedience. And that was the time I saw in a vision, and my hand was going like, my right hand was going like this. And what he was saying is, the act of disobedience is the flesh. The flesh tried to come in, lie to you, because that's where Satan dwells. That's the way you used to think. He's trying to get you to think like you used to think. If he can seep back in, pull some of the truth that I've given you, that I'm speaking, he'll do that. He wants you to fall. He wants you to fail. That's what Satan wants you to do. But that's totally opposite of what the Lord wants. So he said, be ready when you see the act of disobedience is the lie that comes in, subtle. It's familiar because you always used to think like that.
And it brings you down. You start feeling like, this ain't.
Cry, it's like,
For me.
Lord, I thought, he loved me, that sort of thing. But anyhow, he said, be willing and ready to punish any act of disobedience. So now he's saying, recognize it, punish it, nip it in the ground, bud, get it out of here. Because he wants you to fall. He wants you to fail. He wants you to have to climb back up, if you can. You know what I mean? Because there's a time, we know. Have you ever lived in your life where one day you're worshiping, you're going, this is so great. I'm never going to feel those bad things. And then the next day you're like,
mountains and valleys. But you know what helped me was, that's part of the world. We don't live in that world.
That's it. See, that's it. That's the disobedience, because the disobedience comes from the flesh. And as I learned that, I could do it quicker and quicker and quicker, because I recognized this is not him. This is not him. This is not him. This is a lie. This was really subtle. Ooh,
Oh, that's a good one, but is it?
Yeah, that's it. Is it really good? Or is it Satan's definition of good from the tree of knowledge, the knowledge of good and evil? And even evil, see, he's played with that too. What the Lord is saying is evil is Satan. He's saying the flesh is evil, because that's where Satan had his entry point.
Well, he's the father of all lies. He lied to Eve, controlled the flesh. So yeah, he does dwell. when I was going through the fire, when I first started going through it all, I felt like I was blindsided. I felt like, I mean, I've had before I started going through the purifying,
Yeah.
I had I had a powerful experience. I had powerful visions. I thought it blew me away. Then I came to that place where, okay, now, and I remember this, I was watching The Chosen, a broadcast or something on whatever it was. And I heard Dad say, now you're ready. And I knew what he meant. It's like, it's not that I was ready to teach or preach or do anything else, but now I was ready to learn.
Yeah.
I was ready to learn. Then the fire started.
Yeah.
And I was going through it. And I've talked about it before, and I wrote down a couple things. I shared one with you, but he told me, Satan will fight you in the flesh, but you are not of the flesh. And he told me to look to the cross. You are a spiritual being. I took care of everything on the cross. And that helped me. It helped me get out of the flesh, because it was the emotions, it was all the natural, it was self, 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 self.
Yeah. Yeah. See, self had to go, and that's why it hurt, because that was what you were familiar with. That's what you knew, and that's what he was taking away. See, what you said when I went through the purification, see, that's what's coming. What's coming is a purification that we haven't yielded to. What you did is, at first you were like, oh my God, what is this? And then
I was going through it.
yeah, and you were like, what's happening? And then you reached a point where I've heard you say this many times. It's like, turn up the fire, Lord, because I love it. And I know the fire, it doesn't seem like a sacrifice. It's actually something I want now, but at
I
first,
just want to live in the fire. I don't.
well, you are in the fire. You're consuming fire, just like your father. You are. So with that said, the fire is coming, and people are going to be shocked, because when they lose all of those things that the crutches, right? They lose all those things that they put their faith in, they believed, then fire comes and you go, it's torture. It feels like torture.
Well, a crutch is anything that will help you, that you rely on other than him. When you break a leg, you use a crutch to help you walk. It's the same thing. Anything you use other than him to help you in your walk is going to be removed. And you'll have to walk by faith, walk on your own 2 feet with nobody else, not even yourself. You depend on him for everything.
Okay. So that's good. So I want to go back to another thing. And Lord, thank you. Thank you for being here. I do feel him here. I know he's here. He's always here. And he's here right now. So Lord, we love you. And I do want to spend some time just worshiping you. And we will do that in just a minute. I want to touch on these 2 things, because actually 3 things. The first thing, I started talking about a few. There's always a few. There's always a remnant. I talked about Abraham. I just want to mention, if we look at even Moses, so Moses was a remnant all by himself.
Went out to the desert.
Yeah. But he went up to the mountain and he worshiped. They didn't want to go, and they were down worshiping the calf. That speaks of the same thing. It speaks of worshiping the flesh, because it's all about self.
Yeah.
About what feels good to me. It was an idol. It was not our Father. It was not the Most High God. It was not I am. It was a graven image. So Moses was the remnant. So I was trying to say that we started out in the garden with all of creation, would be born, but there's always a remnant, there's always a few. And I talked about the manifestation of the sons, but there's always a few that will say yes to him and that will go on. And so I just wanted to mention that. We know Joseph was one as well. So there's always a remnant. So I mentioned that. The other thing that I want to say to what we've been talking about is when Alpha, and I need to talk about his name, when Alpha, Yahushua, walked the earth, he spoke to the disciples at that time, and he said, I'm going to suffer. This is what's going to happen. So this is when they were saying, Lord, are you going to restore the kingdom at this time? He was saying, I'm going to suffer. I'm going to die. I'm going to be buried. I'm going to be raised again. So their minds went wild. And Peter, who always was willing to speak up, said, Lord, no, this can't be, like, what are you thinking, Lord? What in the world? There's got to be another way, and then the Lord said, get behind me, Satan. Okay. So two things from that.
Mm-hmm.
One, see, this happens all the time. If you think about, you are doing the Lord's will. So Alpha was here doing his Father's will. He knew what the job was. And then this person comes in with good intentions,
Mm-hmm.
fleshly intentions, because they spoke from the lower realm. So when he said, no, I'm just paraphrasing because I'm not.
Right. Think about yourself.
Yeah, come on, this can't be. Don't you love us? Love us, Lord. Why would you do this to us? We don't want you to go through that. Just come here. That sort of thing. See, that's what happens in our lives, because there are emotions, and we know that our own emotions were hung on that tree. They were hung on the cross. They were killed there. So we have to recognize that, because our own emotions might say, ooh, this, you really want me to say that, Lord? Or you really want me to do this? Because I'm going to hurt that person's feelings. Okay, there you go again. You're worried about saying something, and I've had to do this recently. So I had to say something to someone that I knew it was going to hurt that person. But I had to, because I had to be obedient. And I couldn't worry about that person's feelings, because that person's feelings are fleshly. Sometimes you just have to speak to the flesh, and you have to say no, and you have to rule and reign over the flesh. You have to do that. And so when he said, I'm going to the cross, basically in a nutshell, they were playing on his emotions. Peter was saying, he was speaking to the humanity part of the Lord, because the Lord was, we said, 100% God, 100% man. He was the Son of Man, Son of God. So he has feelings. He has feelings, because he knows your feelings. He suffered all things. He knows that those feelings had to be hung on the cross. So what I'm trying to say is, sometimes people will come to you and they'll say, you don't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that. But the Lord is saying, yes, you do. And they come to you with, in that love, we love you. You shouldn't have to XYZ. It should be easier for you. Come on. And so you have to be able to recognize that other people's feelings, first your feelings, and then other people's feelings, if they're speaking from the flesh, try to rob you and steal from God. What Peter was doing, in a sense, is he was trying, he didn't know it. He was being used by Satan. He was speaking from the flesh. And what he was trying to say is, the flesh is better than that, than dying. Stay with us. Do you understand? It's so subtle. I'm just trying to get us to understand that the flesh is everywhere.
Mhm.
It's a way of worldly way of thinking that has creeped in to many people. The Lord said, in that day, false prophets will rise, false teachers,
There's a
and
lot of them.
they'll even fool the very elect if possible. You know, there are a people that, and we know we're all known by the Father in the beginning. We know that He formed us. We know all of that. But what I'm saying is, there are people that were predestined for this day. They're predestined to live now, to live now. And the Lord knows who they are,
Mhm.
but they're that same group of first fruits. When a first fruit, he was a first fruit, they're a first fruit. When that first fruit comes, then the rest of the harvest comes in, because there's always a first fruit. The Lord, they waved the first fruit sheaf, right? The wheat. Hey, here it is. That means more is coming. But what I'm trying to say is, you have a destiny. If you allowed someone in your life that spoke from the flesh, oh, you don't have to go for that walk. Oh, you don't have to really, do you really? Let's go watch TV, let's watch more Chosen. It's so good. I'm not putting down Chosen. I hear it's very good. I can't watch it. I just can't do it. But what I'm
No,
saying,
I haven't watched it anymore. I don't watch TV, and I'll go for my walks no matter what.
yeah, but that fleshly person, and I'm not saying it just for you, the
I know.
fleshly person is also the one that sometimes speak things into our life that are more Satan's ways than God's ways. We have to recognize that.
Mhm.
So what I do want to say, and I've covered a lot of things, but what I do want to say is that last week we did introduce that the Lord has said his new name. And I've been using it all of this time. And his new name is Alpha. And we know that there's the Alpha and there's the Omega. And he is the first and he is the last. He is saying something to us that is deeper than what we understand right now, by saying right now I'm called my new name, which is listed a couple of different times in the book of Revelation. I don't know if it's listed anywhere else.
Isaiah. It's listed a few places.
Okay, good.
I love the Alpha
Yeah.
because he was talking to me the other day about in the beginning, going back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And he's been speaking that to me for a while, but it was yesterday, the day before. So he took me back to the beginning again.
See, that's key, what you just said, because Alpha is the first, right? It
Mhm.
means the first in Greek. So we spoke about this last week. He's to be our first love. You know, he is to
We
be,
put him first before everything.
yeah. And it also speaks of number one. He's number one, you know. So that says a lot right there. But he's also the end. And that's beautiful too. It's beautiful.
Because it brings us back to the beginning again.
It does. But when I know that Omega can mean and stand for a couple different things, but what I always think about, the Lord, we know he's retained in the heavens until the restoration of all things. So we know that he's restoring things right now. And with that said, when the kingdom is established, then he hands it over to the Father. So the end, if we look at it another way, is the kingdom going back to the Father. Because just like you have learned, because the Father said to you, our Father, it's there, I don't even know what to call him anymore. I just call him my Father. So
Yeah.
with that said, he told you, my son is all you need.
Yeah. Because I asked him, what do I do? Who do I worship? Help me to understand. And then he very clearly, just as you said, my son is all you need. Worship him. Just as he wrote in his word, this is my son whom I dearly love. Listen to him.
And what you have to realize, and what I have to realize, and everybody else, is the Father is in the Son.
Mm-hmm.
So when you worship the Son, you're worshiping the Father. Yeah. And that's how you can say, that's how he can speak to you. And he can say, son, or he could speak to me and he could say, daughter, because he is the Father. He is the everlasting Father. Mm-hmm. If you've seen him, you've seen the Father. But the thing is, the other thing about it is he speaks about his Father even today as good. He says, my Father is good. He speaks about his Father. He speaks about his Father, but yet the Father is saying, I'm in him. I am him. There's so much unity in who they are. It's all unity.
Oh, yeah.
It's one.
That's what he wants with us, unity. Yeah. I and you and me. I and my Father, him and me. Yeah. Same spirit.
Yeah. So anyhow, I wanted to say that one of the enemy from the very beginning, and this, someone might say, you've been talking about the enemy so much. The reason why I'm talking about the enemy is because the enemy has been defeated. We just don't recognize it sometimes. And the enemy will go into the lake of fire. This is going to happen. So why are we discussing this? This is a time of tribulation, judgment, wrath, and justice. And the enemy is loosed for a period of time here. We know that. Mm-hmm. The enemy's at work right now. We can see it. We know. It's going to get worse, but the Lord is going to also come in his way. He's going to do it his way. And I know that he's going to shake. He's going to bring us fire. He's going to bring his shaking. He's going to bring his truth. He's going to bring his light. And those things are going to change everything.
Mhm.
And like I said before, he's going to work through his own children, because this is a family thing. And what we're going to do as children is we're going to take back what belongs to him. We're going to take back his name. He took back his name. He said, one, the enemy has taken my name, twisted it, called me a name that isn't even my name. Jesus was not his name. We spoke about that before. Jesus is a Latin version of Yeshua. And we know that Yeshua was a shortened version of his real name, Yahushua, because he said so. God talks today. So with all of that said, the name was a lie. So the name, as he's taken control of that, and he said, my name is Alpha. This is a new day. I'm coming in a new way. There's a reason why I'm using that name. That's my name. Nobody can take it from me. I'm the one who's saying it is. King James Version or whatever version of the Bible, it doesn't matter. This is a new day. We're into a new whole new set of writings, right? He
Yep.
is writing the book. We have been writing the book. And we're into a day that he is actually writing down right now as we go. You know, we're still in the book of Revelation, but we're coming to a time, and even the book of Revelation, we know that it doesn't stay for everything. So he's filling in the blanks. He's filling in the parts that we're not really sure of. He's telling us what they are. He's telling us we're coming to an end, total end of this age, and we're going to new. So he said, this is my new name. And he's saying, who knows my new name? Who's going to use my new name? He's saying, this is my name. And he's serious about it. He's very serious about it. So we know that the Church of Philadelphia, his new name was going to be written on their forehead. And the interesting thing is some translations took out the word new. Some of these things are really important because, I think it is in Revelation 19, it says he has a name that nobody knows except for him. Well, he's revealed it. So we're in that day where he's filling in the blanks. This is my new name. So he's saying, call on my new name, because this is the name that I will recognize and that I will hear. I don't know what'll happen when people call on another name. When we are going through this tribulation, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't answer that question. But if I were you, I would, not you, but anybody listening, I would say, take all this to the Lord. Ask him, do you have a new name, Lord? I'm just helping you. I'm giving you the words. Is it Alpha? You know, this is the way I am. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm hearing. Is it true? You know, and then with that said, get it, know it in your heart, know if it is or if it isn't. Because I'm telling you that I know it is. And I'm telling you what I know he's saying. And so you don't have to believe me. Don't. But I feel it so much inside of me that I'm concerned for anybody that doesn't go to him and talk to him about it. I'm concerned for anybody that doesn't want to believe that he would have a new name. That's just the way it is. So he's taking his name back. He's taking his deity back because we have called him the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. His family is a deity, right? We are family members. We rule. We are, he's in us. He is us on earth. He is us. That's what he wants to be, us. If you're fleshy, he can't be you. So that's why there's a first fruit.
Mhm.
There's always a people that are willing. And then the others come if they want him. So he's taking back deity so that we know that we were born on this planet whenever we were born for this day, if we're alive, for what's happening in this day. So if you're not sure if you are first fruits, go to him. And what he wants is he wants you to come with a repentant heart. That's the first thing. You humble yourself and then you ask from a humble place. When you ask with your whole heart, he will answer you. When you ask with an attitude of, Lord, please tell me, I want to know this. I want to worship you the way you want to be worshiped. There's a difference in the way we speak about things and talk to him. He knows. He knows when we're asking in a humble way or a false way. He made that very clear last week. He did.
Mhm.
So he's taking his deity back, our deity, the family. He's doing this for the family. Then he's taking back our lands. So our lands is the kingdom. So he's been saying, get rid of the evil. We're getting rid of the evil. So we've been speaking to evil, getting rid of it. We're turning it over. We're showing what the evil is. Today, I'm speaking about what Satan has done so that we will see this is evil.
Mhm.
So if I'm thinking this way, if I'm thinking like the world, and it's so subtle, it comes, I spoke about it, comes in emotions, comes in thoughts. It comes in good thoughts that are really evil thoughts because his ways are higher than our ways. And until we can be in that relationship with him and learn his ways, then we still think that our ways are his ways. I hope you understand what I just said. So this is a new age. This is a new time. He's saying, call on my new name. And that's basically that. I do want to do something today though. And see, I might go back and look through my notes and see what I haven't spoken about. But I'm going to give like a partial testimony because sometimes it's important to do. I know it's important to the Lord that we give our testimony. Our testimony is his testimony, right? His testimony speaks of what he's done in our lives. So it's really our testimony and his testimony. But I'm pretty shy. That's fleshy. I'm just telling you. I've always been kind of shy. I force myself to do things. I do. And sometimes what I do on this broadcast, I really have to force myself to do it because I want to please him. I want to please him. And it's not that I don't please him, but sometimes he's pleased by certain things that may really turn the world off. So I take a chance that I'm going to turn the world off, which I don't care about, because I want him to receive glory. And I can tell you this, that many years ago, and you know a lot of this story, so I don't mean to bore you, but I'm just gonna, and I'm not gonna probably not tell the whole story, but and maybe some other time I will. It's just not enough time today. But years and years ago, and probably you might be able to tell me, Mark, how many years ago. I was trying to figure it out today and I just couldn't. I don't even know, because when we were at that church in Burlington,
Oh boy.
what year was that?
Well, it was
Not the first one.
2000,
Okay, so 2000. Okay, we're talking about the same church.
99, 2000. Yeah, because I broke my neck in 2000.
Okay, that helps. Yeah, because that's how you can go back and you can say, okay, this is what happened then. So when I was at that church, I started writing songs. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I did. But I wrote them with him.
Hmm.
I
He
did.
sang one of your songs to me.
Yeah,
He did.
I know. And he changed the words a little bit.
Yeah, he did. It blew me away. I started crying.
He updated my words. And I love that because they're words for a new day.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that he did that because he remembers everything.
Yeah, but the angels, all of heaven sang with you when you sang your song to him.
that was Psalm 23, right? So that song, I didn't write that song.
Oh, what one was it?
I think it was. Thank you for being there, Daddy. Thank you for being.
Yeah, yeah.
So that somebody else wrote that song, but I love
Oh,
I love it. And he knows I love it.
mhm.
I love Psalm 23, and but anyhow, so I wrote some songs, and the one that you're talking about is Come Away with Me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was him and I, you know, and I just feel him right now. It was him and I. And then for him to come back to you and sing it to you, it just blessed my heart. I was like, Lord, how come I can't hear you singing it? Mark is telling me you're singing a song now. But anyhow, see, that's how the flesh works, right? So I wrote these songs, and one song which I still do not have the tune to is about the secret place of the Most High. I can almost remember the tune, but it was about the secret place. But this one song that I wrote, it's called Face to Face. And about a year ago, I started thinking about the song, and I'm going to try to play it. And so I found it, and I couldn't figure out the tune. The words didn't go together well. The tune, I couldn't even play the chords anymore, and so anyhow, he told me that the enemy stole a lot of things from me. And he did. But the Lord is restoring everything. He's giving me back what we had together, what we had together and was lost.
Mhm.
And you may say, or not you personally, but somebody may say, oh, getting really emotional about a song. Well, in the Lord, sometimes the small things that seem small to other people mean everything to you. You know,
And to him, yeah,
yeah, they do.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening, I wrote these songs and we sang them at church, and the thing is, they're not songs that would ever make the top 10 or whatever.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not a professional. I'm just not, but he knows my heart, right?
Yeah.
He does. And so
Can
there,
you imagine for a second? Just imagine. I know when my children were small, or even my say when I just say if my wife would come and sing a song to me that she made up out of love, how that would melt me. Or if my children wrote a song and I mean, I could just picture them they're running off the bus and they're coming in, Dad, I want to sing a song I wrote to you because I love you. That would melt me. How much more do you think that would melt him? It's between you and him.
oh,
Nothing else matters.
so what happened is it was stolen from me. And this week, the tune started coming back. It started coming back. I still can't play it, but it started coming back. I got so excited about it. I'm like, I I recognized that it was gone, and now it's found. You know, in
Mhm.
many ways, it's found. I'm not playing it on the piano, but and so anyhow, long story. I'm not going to go through all the story, but I lost some things because I had a broken heart. And the enemy wanted to kill me. He wanted to kill my heart, wanted to kill me spiritually. And he broke me. He wounded me and he killed me. He just completely killed me. And I'll just say this. I thought the Lord was mad at me. And I cried out to him for days, for weeks, for months, for years. And it was like he turned his back on me. And I didn't understand it. But now I do. It all had purpose. And everything that you go through has purpose. There was a day when I heard a prophetic word that changed my life. It wasn't even to me. I've explained this before. It wasn't even to me. It was a word that the Lord was giving to say what he was going to do in the earth and the different people that he would use. And what I heard was so powerful in me. It changed everything. From that day to today, that day, I said, you love me. You love me. You're saying it's my day. Because I knew he told me there will be a time. But then we were separated. I'm just saying that I heard that word, it changed my life.
Mhm.
Changed everything. And he's come back to me. He has healed me. He has changed me. He has brought me closer to him. He has loved on me. He has been so good. And every day with him is so precious.
Mm.
Every day with him is the best. He is love,
Mhm.
and he loves so deeply, just so very deeply. And he just wants us to see that. He wants us to know that. And when we know that, we get rid of all the junk, because that junk is what holds us back. But he's changed everything in my life. He's
You are
restored.
more than Esther.
He's
I was
restored.
just, let me interrupt for a second if I can, because I was seeing that picture of Mordecai and Esther and that whole thing. And I know he has said this to you before, but she was separated from the king for a year for the cleansing and all the cleansing that's supposed to happen according to their rituals. And then she was brought forward. But I know he has said this to you, that you are more than Esther. And I still remember to this day, before I was caught up to be with him, I heard in my spirit and I was joyful. I was excited. I didn't know anything, but all I knew was Esther has won. And I kept saying it. Esther's won, Esther's won. And then I was taken. You are more than Esther, Mom.
Well, I know that my breaking of my heart had a purpose that
Mhm.
was separate from that. I know he forsook me. Now that sounds like that is a lie, because he doesn't forsake us, but he did me. He did it for a reason.
Mhm.
He did. He told me, I forsook you. But he's also taken me and he's pulled me up and he set my feet on the rock.
Mhm.
You know, it's all about him. It is. There was a reason for that. And I know that after I came back, he really purified. He purified during the time that we were separated, but he also purified after that. He continuously does it, right? So I don't mean to drag this out, but what I am going to do, of course, my mouth is dry and everything, is I'm going to sing this song. I'm going to sing it as much as I know of it, because I look at this and I go, wow, this came from him, because this has a lot of revelation that I had to relearn almost. So it's being restored. So if I can get the right key, I'll sing it without too many mistakes. But so Lord, this is for you, because
It's all that matters.
It's for you because I love you and because you brought this back to me. You're restoring what the enemy has stolen. And I just want to express my love to you. So it goes like this. It goes, maybe I'll take a drink. It goes like this. It goes, face to face, that's where I long to be, dwelling in the fullness of your love, knowing you as you really are, no longer through a glass darkly, but knowing as unknown. All creation groans for the manifestation of the sons. Even I within myself groan and travail. I'm violent for your kingdom. I press on towards the mark, possessing both heaven and earth and resurrection power. As you are, so are we. No longer seeing partially, but seeing as you see. As you are, so are we. No longer seeing partially, but seeing as you see. Face to face, that's where I long to be. Dwelling in the fullness of your love. Knowing you as you really are, no longer through a glass darkly, but knowing as unknown. All creation groans for the manifestation of the sons. Even I within myself groan and travail. I'm violent for your kingdom. I press on towards the mark, possessing both heaven and earth and resurrection power. As you are, so are we. No longer seeing partially, but seeing as you see. As you are, so are we. No longer seeing partially, but seeing as you see. One more time. Face to face, that's where I long to be. Dwelling in the fullness of your love. Knowing you as you really are. No longer through a glass darkly, but knowing as unknown. All creation groans for the manifestation of the sons. Even I within myself groan and travail. I'm violent for your kingdom. I press on towards the mark, possessing both heaven and earth and resurrection power. As you are, so are we. No longer seeing partially, but seeing as you see. As you are, so are we. No longer seeing partially, but seeing as you see. I love you, Lord. We love you. We praise you. We exalt you. It's all about seeing you. It's about seeing your face. Your face is all I want to see. Your beautiful face. In your face is the fullness of who you are. So beautiful, so lovely. When we see your face, we see who we are. We see with clarity. We see the fullness of who we are, who we were born to be. The enemy can't fool us anymore. Because when we see your face, we know that we're like you. We know that we are. We know that we're your family members. We know that you love us. You know that there's nothing that you will ever allow to harm us. We know that we're safe in your arms. We know that your love is deeper than we could ever measure. Your love is higher and wider than we could ever imagine. You are the most beautiful. You are perfect in all your ways. There's no one that could ever be like you completely. Your sons and your daughters are like you because that's what you want. You want relationship with your same kind, who you are. And that's what you will have in this earth today. That is the kingdom. That is where we can dwell together, love each other, encourage each other, speak to each other, tell each other about the beautiful things that we see in them and in their heart and how they're just like you. Wonderful. Knowing you, you taught me that knowing you and knowing you more intimately is one of the most important things, the most important goals that anyone can have in their life. Knowing you changes everything. Knowing you in your life, in your death, in your suffering, and also in your resurrection power. The very same spirit that raised you from the dead dwells in us. The very same spirit that raised you from the dead dwells in us. And you knew that no one had the power to take your life. You had the power to lay it down, but you also knew the power of life, the power of resurrection is dwelling inside of you. You knew who you are and you knew who you were when you walked the earth. And you're speaking that into your children right now. Know who you are. Know who you are. The enemy will come. The enemy will come in this day, and he will work harder than ever to kill, steal, and destroy. But you have come, Lord, to give life. You've come to give life and life more abundantly. We choose life. We choose you. We choose eternal life. Lord, we're excited about this day because good things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen. We focused on the negative so much. This is a day of not just the manifested sons, the family coming together and living in a place where there is no evil. We know that evil does not enter the kingdom. Flesh and blood will not enter the kingdom. But because you love your children, you will allow them to go through that consuming fire that is you. And you will take the sword and you will speak truth into the very being. And when you speak truth, anything that is a lie must go. Truth is powerful. Truth is your sword. Truth is your word. Truth completely destroys the works of the enemy. And that is what you are doing. And you will allow us to go through the fire. because you love us. You will allow us to go through the fire because you will purify your beloved. You will purify your own so they can be with you, so they can live with you, so they can enjoy a life of never being a day without you with them. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your love. Thank you that you love us so much that you will not allow us to stay in the filth of this world longer. It is done. It is finished. You are king. You are king now. You are ruler now. 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 And there will be those that say, I don't see it. Well, you just wait. You will. Done. Things are done. The manifestation of those things come. We're going to see the things that were done without anybody even noticing. Everything's in proper place and proper order. All things have been done well. Your plan is perfect, Lord. And I'm just so excited that you will rule. You will rule. You will rule for 1,000 years.
You know what I love, Dad?
1,000 years is eternity. I just want to make
Yeah,
it. Go ahead.
I love that too, because I was telling him on our walks, I would walk this, I would come here 1,000 times and walk with you, Dad. But I didn't understand what I was saying. I just spoke it. But then he showed me the other day through listening to you what 1,000 times meant, that I would walk with him for eternity, you know? But as I've often wondered what this meant, that in my weakness you are made strong, Dad. I've even asked this yesterday, but today, thank you for showing me what it means, because we are weak in the flesh. But in our weakness, he is made strong in the spirit. And it helped me to understand that the separating of the flesh from the spirit, I'm no longer of the flesh. He has told us that years ago now. We are of the spirit. So when something would come at me in the flesh, I'm weak there. But he has given me power and authority to rule and reign over the flesh. But it's his power and his authority that I have in the spirit. I don't know how to say this other than in my weakness, he is made strong, but I am no longer weak anymore, because he is. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know he does. Thank you, Dad.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes even there are areas that we can be weak and that aren't even fleshly. So I understand what you're saying. They're just an area where we feel like we're weak, but that's the same area that we depend on him more, because I have to rely on you there. And that's where the strength comes. Because
That's where there's no more crutches either.
he is our strength. He is our strength. And he said, there was one time I remember crying out, and he said, I can't do this. I can't. And I've never said that before. I just was on the floor. I had my face on the floor. And I said, I can't do this, Lord. I can't. And he said, and I heard him very clearly. And he said, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.
Mm-hmm.
So strength is what he gives to us. He loves it when you ask for strength. And he will come into that situation in his strength, his nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. He does give us several different ways to look at things. I just want to say just one more thing, and then I'll end the broadcast, because we've covered a lot of good things. I'll go back through my notes and maybe I'll have plenty for next week. At 24 pages. But I think I covered most of everything, just in less detail. But what I do want to say is he's made it very clear that there will be no strife in the kingdom. There will be no envy, no jealousy. I mean, we could go through and list the works of the flesh, but he said those three things very clearly. And one thing that I do know, in the vein of saying that when truth is revealed, if you've believed a lie, it'll knock you off your feet, because you've lost that one thing that you were hanging to, or that those two things, or however many. But I can tell you that I have taught on, and I'll teach again on, the bride is one person. And I can tell you that many people feel that they are his bride. And when he reveals his bride, there are going to be many people that are hurt, and they're angry, and because they believed a lie. And I'm just saying, when this happens, because this is just one of those Satan's lies that came into the church, that every person in the body is the bride. It's wrong. And I can go through and I can show you clearly it's wrong. But the one thing I do want to say is, go to him and really want the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Open your heart, go to him in a humble way, like I've said earlier. Lord, am I your child or am I your bride? Ask him, because his children are definitely going to be doing things with him in this day. His
Mm-hmm.
bride is definitely going to be doing things with him, but not everybody is his bride. And there's a lot of people that believe it. And if you don't believe me, that's okay. But I'm telling you, please go to him, because the last thing I want for anyone from that place of being a mother is for you to miss the kingdom. I'm just telling you, this is serious stuff. This is serious. And I have gone to him and I've said, these are the things that I worry about for people. And I worry about somebody being jealous, somebody being knocked off their feet. And this is something, when you believe a lie like this, I mean, you become intimately, emotionally involved with that.
Attached, yeah.
You love it. You love the idea of it. You want it. And sometimes you want it so badly that you're willing to believe a lie. So, he was saying that when his light is revealed, that it's going to cut people. It's going to hurt people because they thought they were that person. And that's why I've always gone to him and I've said, I don't want to believe a lie in any area in my life, because I know that if I believe something so emotionally that everything about me is attached to it, it will break me. And I want to love you more. I want to love you so much that I want what's true of you. I want you to be happy because I love you.
Mhm.
And the thing is, you love me so much. If we just look at the fact that we're his children, he loves us so much. Can't we just love him back as a child? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah. Your colors are changing again
What
behind you.
colors?
Blue.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I love blue.
Yeah, I can see it on the wall around you, on the floor in the hall.
I was just talking to him about blue today. Told him
Yeah, I can. It's right there. It's like I gotta.
I love
Sometimes it's hard to focus because. Go ahead.
I love what he's
I
doing.
want what he wants. I want what he wants. That's and I know for me, I've never had a father like, I've never had a father, but I've never had a father like him that I want to just hang out with all the time. I want what he wants.
But you've had time to build your relationship with him.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
And
still blue, 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 blue.
wow, and I have no blue in this room. And
It's even blue going up the wall behind the bench.
wow,
Your bookcase, the back wall's blue.
wow. I love that
Yeah.
because he was talking about hyssop. Hyssop is blue,
Hmm.
and hyssop has supposedly it's about cleansing. Now, he is the Lord and he can speak these things, and it may sound like new age to somebody else, but everything has a symbol, right?
Hmm.
And it's cleansing, and it's like cleansing of the soul. And it's also revelation, so I love that. But what I want to say is I've had time to understand what could break my heart, and I don't want it to happen to anybody. And that's why I just ask that everybody go with a humble heart, with a heart that wants to know the truth, and let him heal you, and let him love on you as a father.
Mm.
So I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything else?
No. Incredible. Thank you, Lord.
I love what he's done in you. I love that you can see colors, and I love that he can show you so many visions in one day, and they're all so full of depth, and some of them are more complicated than others. There's still some that we're trying to figure out.
Some of them come to pass yet, but they are coming right
Yeah.
now.
So
I don't I thank him for everything. He's my and yours. everything.
He is. And I just feel that we are coming to a time we're going to see him. I'm excited about that. I am so excited.
Yeah, he's coming in the fullness. He's coming in the fullness into his dwelling, is what he told me a couple days ago. Coming in the fullness, like that. I wait, but I can't wait. Kind of hard to say, to describe.
It's waiting patiently. It's like
But enjoying the wait, you know.
it's the hardest part.
For you, yes.
But it's awesome. So anyhow, would you pray for us?
Yeah. Father, it's the words can't describe just the relationship that you so eagerly seek and desire with all of those who would come to you with an open heart, with an open mind, to seek your will, your words that you speak, Lord, the truth of who you are, and the depth of your love, that you reveal yourself to them. You said, my sheep know my voice. How would they know your voice unless you would spend time with them, they would spend time with you? The relationship you want with us is beyond measure. You paid the price. It's what you desire with all of us, not just a select few. There is nobody put on a pedestal, just you. And we all, I pray, Lord, for those that would seek you all the more as this time is coming to an end, as this age, this era, this generation is coming to an end. The world as we once knew is coming to an end. But everything is opening up into a brand new world of your kingdom, Lord, where you rule and reign with power and authority in love. Love. Your love is a power.
Yes, it is.
The greatest of these weapons is your love. I pray that we would all just seek you all the more, to put you first, above and before anything we may do, any decisions we may make, any person that would try to come before you, any idol, whatever it is, that we would put you first, above anything and everything, anyone and everyone. And we hold your hand even tighter. I pray we hear your voice even clearer, to feel your heart beating in ours. We thank you, Father. Amen.
Amen. So thank you for coming today. Thank you for being with us. We love you. And we hope you have a good week. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.